The road to the monastery was steep and quiet. Tall trees lined the path, their leaves whispering secrets to the wind. A young traveler made the slow journey up the hill, carrying a bag that felt heavier with each step. The sun was just starting to rise, casting gold across the mountaintop. The traveler had come in search of peace. Life back home was full of noise and pressure. Too many voices, too many problems. Nothing ever seemed enough. There was always something to fix, someone to blame, something to complain about. The idea of silence and discipline, of learning from someone who had chosen a different path, felt like the right answer. At the monastery, the traveler was welcomed with a simple nod and no words. The monk led the way inside. No walls were decorated, no music played, just stone, wood, and the sound of the wind. Every movement had a purpose. Every moment had space. The monk handed the traveler a broom and pointed to the floor. No explanation, no speech. The traveler began sweeping. Days passed like this. Wake up before the sun, meditate, clean, chop vegetables, fetch water. No one asked about the past. No one explained what would happen next. The silence was harder than expected. So was the work, the cold floor, the plain food, the long hours. The stillness made the traveler's thoughts grow louder. One morning, after another restless night, the traveler finally broke the silence. Why is everything here so difficult? The monk looked up from the garden and simply pointed to a patch of dry soil. The traveler knelt and began digging. Hours passed. The sun climbed high. Blisters formed. I don't understand, the traveler muttered. This is supposed to bring peace. All I feel is frustration. The monk said nothing. Later that afternoon, the monk took the traveler to a small hill behind the monastery. At the top stood a cracked clay pot. Carry this down the hill, the monk said. The traveler looked at it. The pot was old and chipped. Water leaked from its side. What's the point of carrying something that doesn't work? The monk said nothing. With a sigh, the traveler filled the pot and carried it down the path. By the time the bottom was reached, more than half the water had spilled out. The monk asked for it to be done again, and again, and again. Finally, after the sixth trip, the traveler snapped. This is useless. The water leaks out every time. Why keep doing something that never works? The monk walked over and pointed to the side of the path. There along the trail, flowers were blooming. Tiny wildflowers in soft colors, stretching up toward the sun. They lined the path where the leaking pot had spilled drop after drop, watering what had once been dry and forgotten. The monk spoke. Not every effort is meant to be perfect. Some of your greatest impacts happen when you're not even trying. And just because you cannot see the result immediately does not mean the work is wasted. The traveler looked down at the flowers, stunned. The complaining stopped. Back at the monastery, the monk handed the traveler a piece of worn cloth and pointed to a dirty window. The traveler began scrubbing. The cloth was rough. The dirt was thick. It took time, but slowly the glass cleared. For the first time in weeks, the traveler saw the mountain view beyond the window. Sharp peaks, soft clouds, and a golden valley below. The monk stood beside the traveler and said quietly, "Complaining is like dirt on the window. It blocks what is already there. You do not need to change the world to find peace. Sometimes you only need to clean the way you see it." The words sank deep. From that day on, the traveler stopped pointing out problems, stopped focusing on what was missing or uncomfortable. The work was still hard. The mornings were still cold. But something had shifted. There was meaning in the silence. There was peace in the repetition. There was beauty in things once ignored. Months later, when the traveler finally returned home, nothing looked different. The streets were still loud. People still rushed. Bills still needed paying, but the complaining was gone. Instead, the traveler noticed a neighbor's laughter, a child's curiosity, the warmth of sunlight through the window. Life had not changed, only the way it was seen. That one lesson, learned high on a quiet hill, would never be forgotten. Never complain again. Because even in the mess, the noise, and the struggle, something beautiful is always quietly growing.